Hello, welcome to Chapter 7. It's entitled The Factor Story Confirmed. I hope you enjoy this chapter. Chapter 7, The Factor Story Confirmed. Mark and I drove back to Tulsa that evening and played the tapes for our friends that we were staying with. Joining us was Ron Atterbury, the researcher from Tulsa who had accompanied Mark and Larry on the first interview. We also contacted Larry in Dallas to report the results of our interview. When we mentioned the name of Wallace to Larry, there was a marked silence on his end of the line. "Wallace?" he asked, with a surprised tone to his voice. "Yeah, he didn't know if it was his first or last name," I answered. "I'm almost certain we have something on a Wallace in our files." "On Wallace?" "Yeah, I'm sure we have a file on someone named Wallace, but I can't remember who he was connected with. Let me do some checking and I'll call you when I find something." We couldn't have been more excited. Could this be an important connection here? Perhaps a major piece of the assassination puzzle was about to be located. We replayed and discussed the audio tapes that night until 3 a.m. Ron brought with him a videotape of a lecture given by Robert Groden dealing with his photo analysis of an 8mm film of the assassination scene by an amateur photographer named Charles Bronson. The Bronson film contained footage of an epileptic seizure of a motorcade spectator 5 minutes before the assassination. Bronson had been filming in a wide-angle configuration, and in one extreme corner of the film, the 6th-floor eastern windows appear. In Groden's enhanced version of the footage, simultaneous movement can be seen in 3 windows. What this film shows, I think, corroborates what Loy's been telling us. It looks like as though there were several people on that floor, minutes prior to the shooting, Ron explained. The movie footage was incredible. Hurried movement by several people was obvious. I could easily pick out at least 3 individuals. It seemed to be showing last-minute positioning by the assassins as the motorcade began its final approach toward Dealey Plaza. "Are there any pictures that show the entire face of the Schoolbook Depository?" I asked Ron. "If there were 3 windows open on the 6th floor, then that would go along with the theory of 3 shooters." "I think there is a photo that shows most of the building quite clearly, plus the Hughes film may show all of the windows," Ron replied. "That's something we need to tie down right away," Mark added. "After all, if Oswald's window was the only window open at the time of the assassination, then that shoots down Loy's story." It was easy to see that our work had just begun. We would now need to follow every thread of the Factor story to its end, and the threads were numerous. One of them unraveled almost unnoticed. One night, while reviewing the tapes, I caught a phrase that I hadn't remembered hearing during our interview. Rewinding the tape, I played it again. Calling Mark, I directed his attention to that section of Loy's interview and asked, "Do you remember him saying that?" I played the tape again. Loy explains that when he and Ruth Ann got to the 6th floor, Oswald was looking through the scope of a rifle, making some last-minute adjustments. "Yeah, I remember that. What's the problem?" Mark asked. "Didn't I read about a prisoner in the jail across the street from the Schoolbook Depository that saw 2 men on the 6th floor?" We both began searching the several books that we had brought with us. Finally, Mark found the reference. "Here it is," he said, handing me my earmarked copy of Groden and Livingston's High Treason. "Look on page 228, second paragraph. John Powell, a prisoner in the Dallas County Jail, just across the street from the assassin's window, also on the 6th floor, said that he and many inmates very clearly saw 2 men in the assassin's window who were adjusting the telescopic sight of the rifle one of them had. One of them, the assassin's window, also on the 6th floor, said that he and many inmates very clearly saw two men in the assassin's window who were adjusting the telescopic sight of the rifle one of them had. One of them appeared to be Latin. That's exactly what Loy said, I exclaimed. And one of the men is described as Latin? Wallace might have been that Latin man. After all, Loy said he looked Spanish or Cuban. Finding corroboration to Loy's account of the assassination became common occurrences to Mark and I at this stage of our research. Each piece of information we would gather added to our excitement, fueling our desire for yet one more interview, more information, to make yet one more phone call. One day, soon after our trip to Oklahoma, I noticed while reviewing the tape that Loy mentioned there being a table saw on the 6th floor. I replayed it several times to be sure. After he describes his arrival on the 6th floor with Ruth Ann, we asked Loy, "You said Oswald was looking through the scope and then handed the rifle to Wallace, right?" "Yeah, then he leaned it kind of against the table saw and he had it all ready to go." What would a table saw be doing in a book warehouse, I wondered. I called Mark. "It seems to me I read about there being some new flooring being laid in the book depository building," Mark said. "I'm going to call Larry Howard and see if he knows anything about a table saw on the 6th floor." That was how we met Harold Norman. Mr. Norman was, in 1963, an employee of the Texas Schoolbook Depository. His job was similar to Lee Oswald's, that of an order filler. When I interviewed Harold in 1993, he still worked at the depository building as a custodial worker for the 6th floor historic exhibit. In 1964, Norman testified in Washington as a Warren Commission witness to the assassination. Mr. Norman had watched the presidential motorcade with two workmates from the 5th floor, directly under the sniper's perch. This following transcript is from the portion of my interview with him. "Now, you ate your lunch on the 5th floor, right?" I asked. "Yeah, we got up there a little before 12. "Why the 5th floor? Why not the 6th floor or 7th floor?" "Well, at first we were going to do it on the 6th floor, but they were working. They were putting down some flooring, some 3/8-inch plywood, so there was quite a bit of noise, and they were painting up there too." "Was there anyone else up there besides you three?" "No, just the three of us." "Did you see Oswald?" "I saw him that morning about 10 o'clock on the 1st floor. He asked Jarman, that is James Jarman, and I, what we were talking and laughing about. We told him that we were talking about the president and the motorcade, and he just laughed and walked away." "He laughed and walked away?" "Yeah, like he didn't even know what was going on." "Did you work with him?" "Yeah, I worked with him every day. He worked there for about a month, but he pretty much kept to himself." "How many people worked with you in the building?" "I'd say about 35 or 40. "Were most of them out front during the passing of the president's motorcade?" "Yeah, there were a lot of them down there." "But you were by yourselves on the 5th floor?" "Yep, just James, Bonnie Ray, and me." "That was the best place to watch from, wasn't it?" "That's why we were up there." "Now, you were telling about the construction that was going on the 6th floor. Why were they laying down plywood?" "They were putting it over the hardwood flooring. You see, some of the hardwood was rotting in places. It was really in bad shape." "I see. So it was noisy up there, you said. What was it that was so noisy? Were there any kind of saws or machinery or anything like that?" "Yeah, they had one of those saws, one of those table saws, but there wasn't any noise going on during the motorcade. Everything was quiet." "But you do remember seeing a table saw up there? Where was it located?" "I think it might have been over in the area of the windows by the east end of the building, but I'm not positive." "That would be the corner that Oswald shot from, right?" "Yeah, I think so." Did you help lay down some new flooring? No, we went up there sometimes to move stuff around for the floor construction guys. They didn't work for the book depository, but if our work got slow, we would give them a hand. So there was an outside contractor doing the work on the floors, right? Right. There was a crew of about 5 or 6, maybe up to 8 men. Were they only doing work on the 6th floor? At that particular time, I think they were. They were planning on doing something up on the 7th floor after they were finished with the 6th floor, though. Was the 7th floor empty? Yeah, we just threw junk up there. What did the rear of the building look like? Well, there used to be a loading dock out there. The 18-wheelers would pull up and we would unload them there. Did the loading dock extend the whole length of the building? I think it did go all the way. They tore all that down a long time ago when they remodeled the place. Were there steps leading up to the dock? Yeah, there were, I think at both ends, but for sure at the Houston Street end. So to enter the building from the rear, you would have to walk up the stairs to the loading dock first. Yes. The loading dock was later removed? Yes, when the building was changed to a museum. Would it have been possible for 3 strangers, in addition to Oswald, to have gotten up to the 6th floor? Oh, sure. All they have to do is walk up the stairs, or use one of the freight elevators. Harold Norman, an employee of the Book Depository building, who himself had assisted in moving boxes for the floor construction crew, had just verified that a table saw was present on the 6th floor the day of the assassination, just as Loy had said. How would Loy have known of a table saw had he not personally been there? It is difficult to believe that it was a mere coincidence. What about his knowledge of the building's rear loading dock, the location of the stairs, and his familiarity with the layout of the building? The rear of the building faced north, for example. Was all of this guesswork on Loy's part? And what about Wallace? Was this also a coincidence? Our witness was growing more credible.